The Victual Brothers were a group of Vikings who operated in the North and Baltic Seas in the 14th and 15th centuries. In 1392, Albert, the King of Sweden, was at war against Queen Margaret I of Denmark. She had besieged Stockholm and they needed supplies. The Victual Brothers acted as privateers, bringing goods to the city and fighting the Danes at sea. Initially, they had the support of the Hanseatic League. However, they began to raid coastal towns for plunder, like Bergen and Malmö. By 1394, the Victual Brothers took over the island of Gotland, building their headquarters in Visby. At the height of their power under Captain Klaus Stortebaker, they had shut down nearly all trade throughout the North and Baltic Sea. Queen Margaret created the Kalmar Union in 1397 to rival the Hanseatic League. This put more pressure on King Albert to act against the pirates. He promised the Teutonic Knights the island of Gotland if they could expel the pirates. In 1398, the Knights took back Gotland, but the Victual Brothers continued to operate in the North Sea, eventually moving to Frisia. This new group called themselves the Like Dealers, who raided the coast of France all the way down to Spain. In 1401, Stortebaker and many of these pirates were killed near Heligoland. In 1439, Eric of Pomerania was disposed of in a coup. He fled to Gotland where he led many of the same pirates from the Victual Brothers. He attacked merchant ships throughout the North and Baltic Seas while being the Duke of Pomerania. He died in 1459. There are no references to the Like Dealers or Victual Brothers after his death. The Wokou were pirates from Japan during the Middle Ages that raided the Chinese and Korean coast. After the Mongol invasion of Japan from 1274 to 1281, many people in Japan's southernmost islands were left destitute. These pirates attacked the lands to the west, which had a weakened naval force due to the Mongols. There were over 100 raids in the early Wokou period. In 1419, the Chosun Kingdom of Korea led an invasion into Japan. They destroyed many of their ships and buildings, but left after suffering heavy losses. However, this was not the end of the Wokou. They would come back even stronger in the 1500s, carrying out hundreds of more raids. In 1515, Pierre Gerlof-Stonia, a Frisian farmer, formed a peasant army to fight the Habsburgs. Known as Arumer Zwarte Oop, or the Black Army of Arum, they attacked Dutch ships at sea and captured cities like Medemblik. In 1519, the rebels lost their financial support from the Duchy of Gelders, and Donia died soon after. Viar Jalkama took control of nearly 4,000 rebels in 1520. They continued their piracy and attacks on villages, but they lost the support of the Frisian people. The rebels were defeated in 1523 by the Habsburgs, and Jalkama was beheaded. The Ushkuyniks were Novgorodian pirates that lasted up to the 15th century. They traveled on fast-moving boats capable of carrying 40 men. These pirates wore chainmail and were just as well armed as medieval knights. Ushkuyniks were supported and funded by high-ranking noblemen called boyars. They would explore, protect their kingdom, and pillage. Over the centuries, they raided cities in Sweden, Finland, and Norway. Even though the Golden Horde conquered Novgorod in the 14th century, the Ushkuynik were still actively attacking their cities. In 1374, they captured the Golden Horde capital, Sarai Batu. After the Novgorod Republic expelled the Golden Horde, the Ushkuyniks captured many Russian cities along the river and built a base in Vyatka. Vyatka and its surrounding region acted as a state, making treaties with other kingdoms. In 1489, Ivan III, the Grand Prince of Moscow, sent an army of 64,000 soldiers to Vyatka. The people surrendered and were displaced throughout Moscow. This was the last mention of the Ushkuyniks. Even in the ancient world, pirates from North Africa raided the Mediterranean coast. During the Middle Ages, these pirates mostly targeted the coastal regions of Italy, Spain, and France. They also targeted merchant ships in open water. These fast-paced surprise attacks were known as razzias. In the 1820s, Umayyads from Spain established a pirate base in Crete. This would be known as the Emirate of Crete. They expanded, taking nearby islands and raiding the Byzantine Empire. In 961, Nicephorus Phocas, the future Byzantine emperor, besieged their capital city of Chandyx. After capturing the city, he found a massive treasure of Byzantium's stolen wealth. The pirate state was ended and Byzantium rule was restored. The Balearic Islands of Spain would also be used as a base for the Barbary Pirates from the 10th to 12th centuries. The Norwegian Crusade would strike the island in 1009. In 1113, a Christian coalition of kingdoms led another crusade against the islands. The Crusaders captured the islands, but lost them a few months later in 1115. In 1229, King James I of Aragon captured Palma, incorporating the Balearic Islands into his kingdom. Barbary pirates earned a reputation as slave traders. In 1198, the Trinitarians were formed. These Catholic mendicants would raise money to pay the ransoms of Christians that were captured by the Barbary pirates. Some Trinitarians offered themselves as captives to free others. In the 15th century, the Ottoman Empire expanded into Europe. The states of North Africa served as vassals to the growing empire. More pirates took to the sea, taking advantage of weakened naval forces. Barbary pirates would continue to plague Europe throughout the centuries. Even the Americans fought these pirates in the Barbary Wars from 1801 to 1815. Born in 1170, Eustace Busquet went from being a Benedictine monk to a notorious pirate. Much of his life has been romanticized. From what we know, Eustace got into a dispute in 1204 over the ownership of his late father's estate. He was declared an outlaw and retaliated. He soon began a career of piracy against the French. Eustace was employed by King John to fight King Philip II of France. He established bases in the Channel Islands. Over the years, he would change his allegiance, fighting for England, then switching to the French side. At the Battle of Sandwich in 1217, Eustace was captured and killed by the English, who found him hiding in his flagship. The Vikings were seafaring people from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark that pillaged nearby regions. Not all Germanic people were Vikings. Most of them had common jobs and lived simple lives. But for the Vikings, their world was about raids. Vikings relied on a network of spies and scouts that would visit towns and cities before a raid. They would gain valuable information on a town, like how many people lived there, how well defended they were, and the places where they stored valuable objects. Silver was a highly valued metal that the Vikings were after. They would arrive in fast-moving longships, quickly overtake the townspeople, and leave with their plunder. England in particular was plagued by these raids from the 8th to 11th centuries. They even lost to the Great Heathen Army in 878, and were forced to submit to the Vikings via the Danelaw until the Norman Conquest. Although it's been exaggerated, the Vikings kidnapped some attractive women and took them back to their homeland. Graves of English and Irish women have been found in Scandinavian lands. These women were given proper burials, indicating that they were not slaves, but it doesn't rule out that they were kidnapped. The Viking era came to an end because of the adoption of Christianity and Nordic states becoming more unified and similar to other Christian kingdoms. The Narentines were a pagan Slavic tribe that lived in southern Dalmatia. In 830, the Venetians signed a treaty with the Narentines in order to expand their trade empire. The Narentines did not respect the treaty and continued to attack merchant ships. They would antagonize Venetian ships through the rest of the 9th and 10th century. During this period, they would raid towns along the Adriatic Sea, disrupt Venetian trade routes, and even kidnap emissaries of the Pope. In 1100, the Doge of Venice, Pietro Orseolo II, defeated the Narentines and destroyed their main pirate settlement in Lastova in present-day Croatia. England had many pirates before the 17th and 18th centuries buccaneers like Blackbeard and Calico Jack. Sharing the same name with the 17th century Scottish pirate William Kidd, the medieval English pirate William Kidd was the captain of a ship called Latrinite. In the 15th century, the English struggled to control their coastal region due to wars with the French. This allowed for English piracy during this time. Kidd was also aided in piracy by corrupt customs officials. His crewmate William Allen assisted in stealing ships from the River Thames and bringing them back to Exmouth. Kidd had a pirate career of 23 years, which was much longer compared to pirate captains in the 17th and 18th centuries.